In this video, I'm going to talk about how I successfully replaced my six-figure salary with money from my rental income. Now, it was a long journey. I bought my first property when I was 23, and it wasn't until 8 years later when I fully replaced my pharmacist income from the cash flow that I was making from my rentals. So 8 years might feel like a long time, but it actually felt pretty quick. One thing I realized is that having patience is so important as an investor in general, and especially for real estate investing. So why did I choose to invest into real estate? Well, it actually starts off from a tragic story about my pharmacist colleague. My pharmacist colleague worked over 30 years as a pharmacist and finally retired at the age of 65. He really disliked his job, and he told me that he would have retired 15 years earlier if he had the money to do it. Now, this guy didn't have the best attitude towards his job. Because he had a lot of seniority, he actually worked very slowly, and he told us that he didn't care because he's being paid hourly. Even though he didn't have the best attitude, he didn't deserve what happened next. So he retired at 65, and he had a nice retirement party, and just 2 months later, after he retired, he had a sudden, massive heart attack and died. Imagine working your whole life at a job that you don't really like to finally retire and then only get to experience 2 months worth of retirement before passing away. It was literally one of the saddest stories that happened at our pharmacy. Not only that, what's really crazy is just 2 weeks later, somebody replaced his position and life went on to business as usual, almost as if he didn't even exist in the first place. So this really started opening my eyes to, hey, do I really want to be working this same job all the way until I'm 65? Or do I want to build something of my own that pays me income so I'm not fully dependent on an employer? So that's when I read this really life-changing book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is basically this book that says that rich people and wealthy people do things a lot differently than what people normally do. For example, the average person will have a W-2 job and work until they're 65, and they'll just save up their money, maybe invest it into the stock market, and then they will finally retire when they're 65. Rich Dad Poor Dad says that the wealthy actually do something totally different, which is to buy assets, such as real estate, that will put money into your pocket every single month. Or they will create an asset, such as a business that they own, and then that will put money into their pocket every month. This book totally blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is a game changer. I realized that I really did want to build something of my own so that I can build my legacy, build generational wealth, pursue passion projects and things that I like to do with my time, be able to spend more time with people that I care about, and to, in general, live a bigger life. So when I was 23, I wanted to get started as soon as possible. And that's when I made a very important decision that really changed my trajectory in real estate investing. And that was to invest into college town housing on a rent by the room basis. I would basically take a large house, divide it into 6 bedrooms, rent out each bedroom for $600 to $700 per month, and make around $3,600 to $4,200 per month in rental income. And I always bought nearby the school so that it was convenient for students to walk to class. So I started off buying one property per year, and what I was able to do after a few years was leverage my equity from my first property by taking out what we call a home equity line of credit. I took out $100,000 from that property and was able to purchase more properties from that money. What's cool about real estate is if your property goes up in price, let's say $100,000, usually you're able to take out that money as cash and then reinvest it into more properties. That's how like 99% of real estate investors scale and buy more and more properties. And how people like me, for example, were able to double our properties every couple years. Because every single time you buy another property, that one goes up in value. And then a few years down the line, you take out money from that property to buy another one. So there's this doubling effect with real estate. It's not a straight line. It's more of an exponential growth curve. And because I was able to leverage my equity on the first couple properties that I bought, I was able to scale eventually to 15 properties over the course of about 8 years. Now, the next decision that I made was around year 5 of investing or so. I decided to start investing out of state, out of California, because I could make a lot more cash flow from those properties that are cheaper. When I invested out of state, I was typically able to buy a property in the $200,000 price range and also rent out 6 bedrooms for $600 a piece. So the first property that I bought out of state was making $3,750 per month when the mortgage payment was only around $1,200 per month, which made my cash flow about $2,500 per month in net. So I kept repeating this process until it replaced my full-time pharmacist income, which was about $10,000 a month after taxes. And then I was able to retire when I hit the age of 31. Now, obviously, if you do something like this strategy, you have to make sure you have systems in place. At a minimum, you should have good realtors, good lenders, good contractors, potentially some local property management, and some sort of bookkeeping. I actually did hire my own bookkeeper and my own virtual assistant to handle customer service to manage my properties. For bookkeeping, my bookkeeper uses QuickBooks to track all of the rental payments that are coming in and to charge late fees accordingly. And he also downloads the utility bills and charges the tenants that as well. He tracks all of it under a software called QuickBooks. Then for our maintenance requests, the tenants will submit a ticket through something called Zendesk, and then my customer support will go ahead and assign that ticket to the proper handyman or contractor, depending on how large the repair is. Now, those are just a few softwares out there. Another one that we're probably going to be moving to in a couple months is something called Buildium, which comes with rental payment tracking, lease writing, the whole 9 yards. It's a very comprehensive program from the research I was initially doing on it. And this isn't like some sort of paid promotion or anything. I'm just letting you guys know what software I'm thinking of using in the near future. So that's my story, why I got into real estate investing, how I was able to get enough cash flow to actually replace my pharmacist salary. And if you have any questions, make sure to put it in the comments down below, and I'll be happy to answer them. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends who are just getting started with real estate investing so that I can help them out. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you on next week's video.